Hey guys, and welcome back. I should apologize to Reina. I don't think I believed you. I'm really sorry about that. It's okay, Kichi-kun. I'm just glad we didn't get caught. Who are they? Are they pawns of those religious fanatics who are trying to revive the cult of Oyoshiro-sama? I think they don't realize that they're pawns, but I'm sure the masterminds are using them as such. They must be the ones who have been pulling strings behind the scenes ever since the damn conflict. I heard that people working for the Sonozaki family did something similar during the damn conflict itself. Yes, everyone knows that. Oichi-san told me that. There was a kidnapping incident during the damn conflict. The case hasn't been disclosed to the public, but anyway, someone kidnapped the grandson of the minister of the construction and coerced the minister into promising to put a halt to the damn construction. The grandson of the minister was kidnapped. Hey, I never heard about that before. The minister submitted to their demands and they made a deal behind the scenes. That's why they incident never went public. And Uchi-san only knows about it because he was in charge of the case. Okay, and according to the Uchi-san, between kidnapping the minister's grandson and blackmailing him, their tactics were frighteningly advanced. The police know about the Sonozaki family gave orders to the kidnappers, but the case still remains unsolved. At that time, the head of the Sonozaki family, Oryu, had announced a plan to fight against the dam project by force. She even formed a special attack corps using the Yakuza group, and that's under the Sonozaki family's command. She was very serious about this plan and put the Ministry of Construction down by brute force if she couldn't stop the construction. Everybody knows that the Sonozaki family had tried to stop the dam project, even if it meant breaking the law, so I wasn't surprised to hear that she had a dangerous plan like that. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if that it was Mion who came up with the idea. The plan sounded just like her. In the end, the plan ended up as nothing more than that, but the Special Attack Corps actually did undergo training, and a very high-level training at that. She had uncovered the information right after the damn conflict ended. At the time, Oryu even said that the village was going to be submerged. All members of the Onagafuchi Guardians would choose to stay in their houses and drown. So because Oryu was behind those things, I couldn't just laugh off the idea of an armed assault on the Ministry of Construction. According to the information Oishi seized, she planned a suicide mission as a last resort when the damn conflict started to heat up in case their resistance wasn't successful. She had actually obtained weapons and put people through training for the sake of that plan. The Special Attack Corps were flown to America, having received a huge amount of money from Oryu for the operation. In the southern desert of the United States, some retired military soldiers gave them highly professional training. While the plan was never carried out, the Special Attack Corps became a death squad under the direct control of Oryu after they came back from America. They were involved in many unsolved terrorist incidents, and they succeeded in kidnapping the grandson of the minister as well. And it sounded like it's from a movie or something. Do you remember how Mi-chan says she could do anything from flying helicopters to using wireless radios? It's actually all true. It seems like Mi-chan joined in the training, so it was all true? Well, let's put that aside for now. Anyway, you have to at least believe that the death squad actually exists in Hinamizawa and are capable of kidnapping the grandson of a government minister. I didn't take a close look at the 4 men in that white van today, but thinking about it, they did look professional in a way. They were pretending to just be taking a break, but I could tell they were tense the whole time. So they were really trying to kill you? I don't think so. If they really wanted to kill me, I'd be dead already. So what do they want? Are they after tucking us on scrapbooks? Like you saw yourself, the group is very cautious. Unless we show them an opening, they won't resort to force. If they were the type to use force outright, they could have attacked me in my sleep. They haven't done that yet, so that must mean they're taking it cautiously. They're probably not sure that I have the scrapbooks. They killed Mio-san and tried to dispose of them, but they found out that the most important ones were missing. They thought that she gave them to someone because she knew her life was in danger. Now they think I'm the one who has them, but they're not sure, so they can't resort to violence. Reina, it sounds like you're playing a dangerous game. Yeah, I'm a bit scared, but they won't be able to erase me so easily. After all, I'm cooperating with Oishi-san. I've been frequently contacting him in case something happens. What did he say about them? He said he'd keep an eye on the Sanazaki family so that he could catch them right away if they were working behind the scenes. Did you tell him about the scrapbooks? No, I didn't. I think you should. He's an officer. I'm sure the police will help you. Kichi-kun, I can't even tell you the secret of this village because I'm not sure you would believe me. I don't think Oishi-san would believe me if I told him any of this. Right now, let's not make it more confusing than it already is. Just tell me. What is it? What's written in the scrapbooks? What's the secret that killed Mio-san? Simply put, if things written in the scrapbooks are true, the god they worship will be dethroned. Their god dethroned? Yes. The sanctity of Oyoshiro-sama will be lost. That's why they want to conceal the truth. They want to resurrect people's belief in Oyoshiro-sama. Minna, can you explain it a little more simply than that? I'm confused. In other words, Oyoshiro-sama isn't a god. He isn't? I had no idea what she read that made her so certain, but whatever it was, it'd be sacrilegious for people who believes in so strongly in Oyoshiro-sama. There are many teachings of Oyoshiro-sama, but the essence is as follows. Don't leave the village and don't let nobody into the village. One could even say the rest of his teachings were developed to maintain those two fundamentals. It really was until later on that they added aspects like love your neighbor or viewing him as a god of marriage and domestic prosperity. In other words, Oyoshiro-sama existed solely to stop the villagers from going outside the village. Oyoshiro-sama doesn't bless the villagers or protect them from disasters. There are people who believe that Oyoshiro-sama does all that for them, but the truth is that the people who abuse this name for that purpose, generation after generation, and nothing more than that. Why did Oyoshiro-sama descend in the first place? Because demons came out of Onagafuchi swamp and attacked people. In fact, that was the wrong interpretation. Demons didn't come out of the swamp and attack people. People became demons and attacked others when they were possessed by whatever came out of the swamp. Whatever came out of the swamp, what do you mean by that? Whatever came out of the swamp possessed people, crawled into their blood, controlled them, and turned them into demons. People had no resistance against whatever it was that came out of the swamp. They became demons, attacked the other villagers, and turned them into demons as well. That's right, it was a weird infectious disease that broke out from the swamp and made the infected people go out of control. The villagers saw this disaster and explained it like so. Evil demons came from the bottom of the swamp, possessed people, and turned them into demons as well. That is the truth of the story of the demons that came out of Onagafuchi swamp. It actually explains the legend. So was Oyoshiro-sama a doctor who came from a foreign country? Yes, that's not exactly correct, but he was something like that. He came to Onagafuchi and he treated the infectious disease, but he couldn't cure for good. All his treatments could do was reduce the symptoms of the infection. Villagers could have their symptoms suppressed, but there's no way to kill the parasites that have infested them. After a while, the village was divided into two groups. One group was made up of people who were already infected, and the other consisted of people who weren't. Without a cure for the disease, the unaffected looked down on the people who could only suppress their violent symptoms. They even talked about drowning them in the swamp, but they knew killing the infected people wouldn't solve the problem. The parasites came out of their water sources, including Onagafuchi swamp. They couldn't fill them all in, for if they did that, they would lose their access to drinking water. They could choose to leave their village, but what was hard for them, for that was the location of their ancestors' grave. Under the power of Oyoshiro-sama, infected people could live without showing symptoms. So both those who were infected and those who weren't decided to live together equally and to coexist with the parasite. Oyoshiro-sama was impressed by the villagers' decision. He decided to stay there and continue to treat them. That's the true identity of Oyoshiro-sama, the benefactor who stayed in the village to protect the lives of both human and demon. That's right, and Oyoshiro-sama made rules in order to ensure the symptoms of the infected people would remain suppressed. The rules were to never leave the village and to never let anybody into the village. I understand why he didn't want to let anybody new into the village. It was to prevent the parasite from infecting anyone else. But I don't understand why he didn't want people to leave. It seems like the parasite can only live in Hinoizawa because of the climate here. It causes an outbreak of the symptoms in order to prevent the host from leaving the village when they try. The reaction is the truth behind the curse of Oyoshiro-sama. The strongest symptoms of the infectious disease were violence and delirium. The infected people acted like demons, and the impact of seeing them in the throes of the disease was strong enough to make others describe them as such. They could even let people leave who had just come to the village. If they had left after being infected, they might go crazy in a faraway land, turn into a vicious demon, and cause a disaster. Infected people who were never allowed to leave, and when an infected person left the village, they brought him back by any means necessary. That was really what it meant to be demoned away. When it's like arena, that means everybody in the village, including you and I, are infected, but nothing happens when we leave Hinamizawa. In fact, many villagers move far away after getting married or something. I've never heard of any villagers who went crazy and turned into demons after they left Hinamizawa. You're right, that's because things went as Oyoshiro-sama thought they would. Do you understand? He isolated the villagers for a long time in order to weaken the power of the parasite. Hosts are very important for parasites. If something happens to the host, the parasites that live in the host must have to share the same fate. In other words, if the host went crazy and attacked people, the host would be captured and killed, which means that the parasites would die with the host too. I see, you're talking about the natural selection. Good thinking, Kichika, that's exactly right. As a result of living in this village under such strict rules for a long time, people who were hypersensitive to the parasite went crazy and got killed. The strong parasites that made the infected people go crazy were also killed off due to the host's violent behaviors. As a result, only the parasites that acted nice to people lived on. And that's the explanation behind the mix of human and demon blood that's written in the legend of Oyoshiro-sama. So that means the parasite's almost harmless now. Yes, according to Mio-san's scrapbooks, there are actually many people who are infected by harmless parasites. It depends on the local food culture. For example, about 80% of the people who live in a country where meat is a staple food are infected by parasites. But because the parasites coexist with humans without doing any harm to them, nobody notices them, treats them, or tries to get rid of them. I see. In the olden times, Watanagashi was called Harawara Nagashi. Harawara means guts. It says that people back then used to eat the guts of infected people who went crazy. It sounds awful, but it was something they had to do. Eating the infected people. Are you talking about a vaccine? Haha, you're very smart, Kichika. Mio-san also interpreted it just like you did. In a legend, it says people cut open and ate the infected ones alive, but it actually wasn't anything gross like that. They did it in a scientific way. They created a vaccine from the infected people who died from the extremely strong parasites, and then helped the unaffected villagers boost their immune system. Well, who was Oyoshiro-sama? A scientist? He must have been from a very advanced country. Was he German? Is it the true identity of Oyoshiro-sama, a foreign doctor who survived the shipwreck? I think that must be the most likely answer. He wasn't German, but he was a doctor of some sort. It's kind of interesting to reveal the truth behind old legends. I don't think that random story is too crazy to be true anymore. It still sounds crazy, of course, but I've never heard any theories that explain the legend of this village better than this one. I'm infected by the parasite too, right? I feel itchy all over now. A person is like a universe. We have countless numbers of bacteria in our bodies. Some of those bacteria are essential to staying alive, or like bacteria in yogurt, right? Let's see. This is also what Mio-san wrote in her scrapbooks. You know termites, right? They eat wood, but they actually can't digest it themselves. They have a unique bacteria that decomposes wood fibers as a result. Termites can absorb what they eat. That's just one example of a species coexisting with parasites. I didn't know that. When I hear there were parasites, I feel creeped out almost instinctively. But now I know some of them aren't so bad to us. So the weird infectious disease that broke out from Onagafuchi Swamp has been exterminated by now. Well, I shouldn't say exterminated. I should say it's harmless now. I thought it was a crazy story at first, but now I feel like I just saw the trick behind some crazy kind of magic. It's interesting. It is to us, but for the cult of Oyoshiro-sama, this must be a very annoying theory. Of course, if Takano-san's theory is correct, Oyoshiro-sama isn't a god, and the punishment by that god, namely the curse of Oyoshiro-sama, that people have been so afraid of, will turn out to be just the symptoms of an infectious disease. I see, that's what dethroning God would mean. So if the pathogen of this infectious disease was identified and announced to the public, the power of Oyoshiro-sama would be completely lost. That's right. That's what they're afraid of. Mio-san was going to identify the pathogen, and for that she was killed. So that must mean she identified it. Maybe she did, but she's gone and she didn't say anything about that in her scrapbooks. That's the only reason why I can think of, though. But it's the end of the 20th century. I'm sure the villagers have been examined by a lot of different medical institutions by now, right? I never heard about anyone discovering a weird parasite like that. I know, it's true that the pathogen hasn't been found yet, but in fact there's evidence that there's some kind of parasite involved. What, really? When a parasite enters a human body, that body's immune system's cells, eosinophils and macrophages try to kill the parasite. They secrete an antibody called immunoglobulin E, IgE. The most common way of checking if a person is infected by a pathogen is to look at the levels of this secretion According to Takuno's research, people from Hinamizawa have a very high level of IgE in their blood. And that's not at all. They also have an obvious symptoms of being affected by parasites. They don't have any allergies. IgE stimulates mast cells and they secrete histamines and serotonin. As a result, these cause an allergic reaction. That allergic reaction isn't pleasant for humans, but it's necessary for the body to kill the pathogen. But the parasites don't want to be killed, of course, so they secrete substances that counteract IgE. As a result, IgE stops stimulating the receptors of that mast cells, which stop secreting the chemical compounds. As a result, the antigen-antibody reaction, namely the allergic reaction, doesn't occur. In other words, the human body that was infected by a parasite secretes a high level of IgE, but it doesn't display allergic reactions. For your information, the human body that's infected by a parasite doesn't suffer from hay fever. You may get hay fever due to your body secreting a large amount of IgE, but it's mistaken pollen for a parasitic invasion. Hold on, guys, I got a cough. Okay. As a result of a large amount of stimulants like histamine will be secreted, but your body can contain the parasite that's attempting to kill. That's why your body continues to secrete IgE. As a result, the stimulants keep causing allergic reactions. That's how hay fevers work. If you have a parasite in your body, it'll deactivate your IgE and suppress the secretion of stimulants. As a result, you don't have an allergic reaction. In other words, there are no hay fever in Hinamizawa, and you can cure your hay fever by moving here. So we haven't been able to identify the pathogen, but there are no question about its existence. Yes, that's right. If it's true that scrapbooks are a big threat to the believers in Know Your Shio-sama, they don't identify the pathogen, but they clearly prove its existence. Yeah, it poses a big enough danger to them to make it think it's worth killing Mio-san. This really is a secret, scary secret. I believe it's because you took the time to explain it to me, but if you had skipped the details and told me only the conclusion, it would have sounded too crazy to believe. I told you, I couldn't believe it at first either, so I thought you definitely wouldn't. So what's important right now is that there is a dangerous organization acting in the shadows to try and cover up the truth, right? Yes, that's the most important thing. The fanatics who want to revive the sanctity of a god they worship, or reviving the majesty of their god means reviving the power of that god, and the power of their god is the infectious disease. This infectious disease can spread nationwide, unlike other infectious diseases. So from now on, I'm going to start calling it an endemic disease. That fits better since it only affects this region. Anyway, this endemic disease of the current day, Hinamizawa, is different from the one of old times. Okay, it's been through a process of natural selection and is harmless now. In other words, it doesn't do any harm to the human bodies. That harm was once interpreted as a curse. A curse is the power of a god, so a harmless endemic disease means that the god power is useless. My god, my reading sucks today. That means the god is powerless. That means the only way to regain the majesty of the god is to revive the curse. In other words, they want to bring back the primitive endemic disease, namely the harmful, strong version of the parasite. Wait a second. The disease fanatics want to deny the fact that their god was actually a parasite, but you're saying that they're researching the parasite? That's contradictory, isn't it? I know it is. I think that this research is a secret that only the head of the fanatics is aware of. From the outside, it looks like they're praising their god, but they actually understand its true identity, and they're trying to revive their supernatural power with their own hands. I get it now. Oh my god, this is getting crazier and crazier. It didn't say in the scrapbooks, but I'm suspicious of the clinic the manager owns. The Irie Clinic? Why? The facility is too big and fancy for Hinamizawa. Mio-san was working there. The manager might be a bacteriologist. The son of like a family recruited. It can't be. I think Mio-san was murdered because she knew too much. The reason why the manager hasn't been murdered yet is because he's working for the fanatics in the first place, and he's researching the primitive form of the endemic disease. It's hard to believe that the coach we know is capable of doing things like that. I'm sorry, he might be totally irrelevant. It's just a wild guess, but someone is doing research somewhere. That much is certain, and after 5 years, the research is finally being completed. The first case was a dismemberment murder by the damn construction workers. Their quarrel had been turned into a lynching. They might have been primitive infectious disease, and the symptoms, the aggregation and delirium, might have kicked in. The victims of second year were Sotoko's parents. There were no witnesses, so the whole event is veiled in mystery, but there's a theory that someone might have pushed them over the cliff since the fence of the observation deck that they fell was quite sturdy. What if one of them was infected by the primitive parasite, or he or she might have become violent and pushed the other over the cliff? The Shinto priest died from a disease, and his wife drowned herself in the third year. He might have died of shock because of hypersensitive reaction to the infection. His wife might have gone crazy and committed suicide when one of the symptoms, delirium, kicked in. In the fourth year, Satoshi Hojo In was beaten to death, probably by Satoshi himself. Everybody knew Satoshi Kon, remembers how he changed at that time. He showed signs of being both aggressive and delirious. In the fifth year, for the first time in 5 years, the victim experienced a maggot disease described in the old scroll of the Furude Shrine. The reason behind this is unclear, but the stronger the primitive parasite could have given its victims a delusion of maggots. This means that they finally managed to duplicate the curse of Oyoshiro-sama after 5 years of research. Tamataka-san is a victim of the fifth year. He died in an extremely abnormal way, and I'm the only one who understands his death because I experienced the same thing. He kept clawing at his throat to get rid of the maggots and died as a result. With all that explained, I finally understand the maggot disease I experienced in Ibaraki. I left Hinamizawa and made the parasite in me uncomfortable. As a result, it tried to resist, even though it wasn't very strong, and it tried to make me homesick. But with my parents' divorce, I grew mentally unbalanced. I completely lost the power to resist for a period of time. The parasite was weak and harmless, but my mental instability allowed it to worsen my symptoms dramatically. As a result, I went crazy and became violent. The delusion of Oyoshiro-sama appearing to me in the bathroom was probably the terminal phase of my delirium. I created a supernatural existence, Oyoshiro-sama, that I was instilled with when I was little, that I persuaded myself to go back to Hinamizawa based on that delusion. Some of the transcendents of Onagafuchi must have had the same kind of experience. They must have passed their experiences down as an act of God. I remember I once saw on TV so that the indigenous people in South America use some kind of natural drug in order to have a mystical experience, and that they call it a ritual to communicate with their gods. So the fanatics are trying to do is to spread the primitive parasites throughout Hinamizawa. I think that's their goal, but I don't think they'll do that without letting people know about it. Religions need ceremony, so that they created what they wanted to create, and if they decided to spread it, I think they name it the Day of Oyoshiro-sama's Revival or something, and they perform some kind of ceremony. It would be in celebration of the revival of Oyoshiro-sama. That's a bad thing, isn't it? I think you can say that because they're trying to spread a very dangerous pathogen. Hey, isn't that bioterrorism? Geez, this is very bad. They used it on Tamataka's son, confirming they succeeded in duplicating the curse of Oyoshiro-sama so that the day of revival might be really soon. I really don't know. It could happen in a few days, or it might take a year. This is way out of our league arena. This is a very serious conspiracy. There's nothing we alone can do to stop them. We have to report it to the police. Do you think they will believe us? It's their choice whether to believe us or not. No matter what we have to tell them. Kichi-kun, telling Oishi-san about all this means telling him that I have the scrapbooks. Do you think that's a problem? Oishi-san came to me after Mio-san was murdered. When they killed Mio-san, they found out that her scrapbooks were missing. They also know that she met me at the library a few days ago. No way, you mean? Yes, Oishi-san could be one of them. It's possible that Oishi-san thinks I have the scrapbooks and he might be trying to find out. In fact, he looked very suspicious and seemed to me that he didn't really tell me everything he knew. He only told me things to make me suspicious of the Sonozaki family. He could have just been trying to make it look like he was on my side, but he's actually their minion. But the police are our only hope. Kichi-kun, you know about the case of the fourth year, don't you? Satoko-chan's aunt was murdered. I believe Satoshi-kun did it, but the police fingered a drug addict as the murderer. What do you think about that? Some of the fanatics are with the police, and they fabricated the murder. It's the same way with the autopsy of the Shinto priest who claimed died from disease and the inspection of the incident site where the Hojo couple died. If the police are on the side, it opens the door to many perfect crimes. The three families have been maintaining pressure on the police since the dam conflict. You've heard from Michan that they've also had considerable power over many organizations in Okonomiya, right? Yes, I have. It's not only Mion who told me that. Many people did. They told me the Sonozaki family holds influence over the whole city. That's right. You can't necessarily trust the police around here. Rena, please, I want to make the one thing clear before we go on. Are the Sonozaki family the masterminds behind all this? Does that mean Mion is involved too? Please tell me. I don't know if Michan or Rika-chan are directly involved or not. All I can say for sure is that the fanatics have the power to control the nerve centers of all the three families, including the most powerful family of all, the Sonozakis. So I'm not sure if the fanatics are controlling the three families or if the three families are the fanatics themselves. As long as we're not sure about their involvement, it's better for us to be extra careful around them. Is that what you're saying? Yes, I'm not saying I don't trust Michan. She's usually very reliable, and I'd ask her for help with any problem, but not this one. This one is a little different. I don't know if you've seen it before, but although Michan jokes around when she's with us, she could be a very cold person when she's acting as the successor of the Sonozaki family. Plus, even if she wasn't involved, she would put her in danger if we told her about this. If she was on our side, that'd be really encouraging. I think we should tell her. No, we shouldn't. And we shouldn't tell her until we confirm she's not one of them. Sure, it'd be great if we could pull her to our side, but what if we couldn't? So how are we going to fight against them? Well, this is a battle we don't stand a chance of winning to begin with. That's why I didn't want to get you involved. Damn it, Takano-san left us a big parting gift, didn't she? But because of that, we know the conspiracy. I believe that this is her will. Two kids challenging the mastermind who controls the village. This is going to be tough. Ordinary methods won't work. But Kichi-kun, I'm glad to have you on my side. We could talk about it and plan things together, of course. I've always been on your side, and I'm your friend. I know, thank you. You're very reassuring. Two heads are better than one. Yeah, I agree. We could come up with a plan for how we're going to fight against them together. I skipped school today because I wanted some time to read the scrapbooks again, and I'm going to school again tomorrow, and I'm going to act normal. They might sense that something is wrong with me if I act different. We should do the same, Kichiko, and please be careful with Michan. She sometimes feels respect. She's very perceptive. Okay. I'll act normal as if I know nothing, but damn, I'm a bit scared. A huge conspiracy is right around the corner, and it might already be counting down to zero. It's hard knowing that. I don't think it's going to happen very soon. Looks like I said earlier, if they really are religious fanatics, they need a religious ceremony. They need the help of the whole village to hold something like that. I can't think of any event other than the Watanagashi. So you're saying that we have time at least until the next Watanagashi festival? I can't promise, but I just can't think of any event other than that. I think we have a year at least, but I also feel like we don't because of how they killed Mio-san. I might not know, but there might be a bigger religious event than Watanagashi. It might not be long until that day. On the day of Oyoshiro-sama's revival, they're going to spread a dangerous parasite, and that day might be just around the corner. Rena, are you still on the phone? Wrap it up soon, it's getting late. My father stuck his head in from the living room telling me I need to hang up soon. I thought about telling him so many times. It's natural to think your parents will be on your side no matter what. But I know just how weak he can get, so I couldn't tell him. I don't think he'd believe me anyway, even if I told him just because he told me to call the police. It's better that I don't tell him, because they might get close to my father to get me. If he didn't know anything about anything, including the scrapbooks, there'd be nothing to squeeze out of him to begin with. I'm sorry, Kichi-kun, I have to go now. It's getting late. I'll see you at school. Okay, see you tomorrow. Be careful, okay? You're not an outsider anymore. Yeah, I'll be careful. I remember the suspicious men in the white van and felt a chill run through my spine. They looked like villagers, but they weren't. They had a village accent, but they were just pretending. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious they became. It let me know that Reina and I aren't safe. If Reina is right, they're just suspicious of her, and they're not sure if she has the scrapbooks or not. But it's still creepy. Reina had probably experienced the same creepiness I felt when I saw the van several times up until now. She must sense the danger more than I do. However, the fact that they weren't attacking, that they were merely observing us, was disturbing. If they attacked her, she could have done something like this to police. All they're going to do is watching her from a distance, but she can't do anything about it, and she can't talk to anybody about it. She probably just wants her to stay in her house all day. But if she acted differently, she might take it as proof that she has the scrapbooks. We have to think about how to fight against them without making it obvious. I told myself that there was no going back, and I put the phone down. Ooh, halfway mark. The next day, Raina would come to school acting normal like she said she would. She talked with me on as cheerfully as she always did, and made me wonder if the story she told me last night was a complete fabrication. That's because the story really was too ridiculously crazy to believe. This village has a very weird and rare endemic disease, and there are religious fanatics who want to use the disease to revive their weird cult. And they've been researching the pathogen of the endemic disease so they could spread it throughout the village. I was deeply influenced by Reina last night, and I believed everything she said, but thinking about it with a cool mind under the bright sunlight, it sounds too crazy to be true. The story Reina told me is based on Takano-san's crazy hand-me-downs ideas. It's based entirely on theories, and which, through very feasible, have no evidence whatsoever. The fact that Takano-san was murdered lends credit to that story, I'll give you that, but I looked at Mion. She was fooling around with Reina. It started to believe that she was involved with some kind of crazy conspiracy. Hey, are you listening, Ki-chan? What? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Ha 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 ha. Wake up, sleepyhead. You need to get enough sleep or your brain stops working. Mion made fun of me for acting too slowly. It's almost impossible not to trust this bubbly, cheerful girl. I trust Mion. I trust my friends. I know she'd never have a hand in a crazy conspiracy like that. If she knew about it, she wouldn't be able to act this cheerfully. Reina told me to not tell Mion because she might be one of them, but it might be worth telling her without letting Reina know. Of course, there's at least 1% chance that the conspiracy is true, and that Mion is one of them. If so, I'd be doomed. But if I had to choose between believing the crazy conspiracy theory and trusting my friends, my answer would be obvious. I know that my friend Mion isn't part of any conspiracy. She'd never be involved with something like that. Even if the conspiracy exists, I'm sure Mion will be on our side. So whether or not it's true, it must be worth telling Mion about. What's going on, Ki-chan? Why did you call me out here? You told me not to tell anybody. You're not going to extort money from me, are you? Is that the first thing you think of when you're called out to the gymnasium at storeroom? Oh, I know you want to give me a love letter, don't you? People usually use a shoe locker for that, you know. We don't really do that in the city. A lot of guys hand over their love letters in person. Really? So wait, are you kidding me? That's not why I called you here. I have to talk to you about something very important. I want you to listen without making fun of me. What is it? Do you know that there are people who want to revive the cult of Yoshio-sama? Huh? What are you talking about? Oh, damn it, you actually couldn't tell her. Where is the trust, Kichi? You're breaking Reina's trust. This is, of course, just my way of getting her a feel for the situation. I wanted to see how she was going to react by getting straight to the point. But Mion really did look puzzled. People wouldn't normally react like this if someone pointed out their secrets out of the blue. They always panic, if only just a little. Either Mion was a brilliant actress or she really didn't have anything to do with the idea of revolving on Yoshio-sama. I decided to tell her everything. Mion, your family and the Sonozaki family has a lot of influence in this region, including Hinamizawa, right? Do you think there's a possibility that they're working to revive the cult of Yoshio-sama behind the scenes? Revive? Why? Well, you know, you people today don't worship Yoshio-sama like they did in the old days. So people like fundamentalists might be trying to make people worship Yoshio-sama in the same way as the people of Onikafuchi. What? Wait a second. I have no idea what you're talking about. Are you sure you really have no idea what I'm talking about? Of course I don't. It sounds like one of those popular novels that sold 5 million copies over in America. Mion's reaction is very natural. It seemed impossible that she was pretending she didn't know anything about it. But regardless, I continued. Well, there's a people like that in this village for real. Do you know anything about them? You're saying that those people want to make us worship Yoshio-sama like the people of Onikafuchi did? What good will that do? You know, I think it means a lot to people who really believe. But think about it, Ki-chan. Who'd be happy to live under those strict ancient rules? In this day and age, it's almost impossible to live without leaving the village. But for example, think about Rika-chan. All the old people say she's a reincarnation of Yoshio-sama, right? Those people might be religious fanatics, and... Are you talking about the old man Kimiyoshi? Well, I know he's a deeply religious man for sure, but he isn't a fanatic. Believe me, there really are people who are trying to revive the cult of Yoshio-sama. Okay, I'll believe you for now because I want to hear the rest. Go on. They found out the curse of Yoshio-sama was just an endemic disease unique to this village, so now they're researching the pathogen. Where? First of all, what's an endemic disease? What's a pathogen? They sound gross. I was getting confused. I didn't know what I was talking about myself anymore. I was deeply influenced by Raina last night and believed everything she said, but having said it all out loud, I started realizing how impossible the story sounded. What's going on with you? Did Mio-san tell you all this? How did you know? She's infamous for this kind of thing. She's an occult maniac, and she's always speaking of crazy stories. A few people have gotten badly taken in by her before. She told me some of her stories once, and I remember they were actually very interesting. Is that true? I think you've heard about this once or twice before, but this village had a unique culture back in the old days. They did a lot of oppressive things, like having very strict rules, very strict punishments, and a bunch of their cruel traditions. They're well known among cult maniacs. Nielsen is one of them. So the story I heard about the weird parasite that controls the village was... What? Parasites? Is that a new story she came up with? What do you mean, new story? I told you Mio-san is an occult maniac. She studies the weird legends surrounding Onagafuchi and enjoys making up hypotheses, theories, and wild stories about them. She's created a lot of different ones, aside from the theory that parasites are controlling the village. One I heard an awful while back was about UFOs. That one was interesting since it connected a lot of different dots. The story about the UFO that crashed into the Onagafuchi swamp long ago, the alien that was to the UFO, and the villagers had a battle or something like that. It was like one of those sci-fi horror B movies. The one Satoko heard was a theory about creatures in the bottom of the ocean, and movement in the Earth's crust opened up a connection between that underwater world and Onagafuchi, and the princess of the underworld fell in love with a young man in the village. It was like a sci-fi version of Romeo and Juliet. The story about the parasites that you heard must be a new one. I hope she mistakes all of them into one book one day. Neon began laughing so hard that she had to hold her stomach. As I looked at her laughing like that, I realized I fell for something that ridiculous. At that point, it was obvious. I had been completely taken in. I'm sorry, Mian, but please answer my questions. First, do the fanatics who are trying to revive the cult of Oyosho-sama exist? No, they don't. I mean, it's totally the opposite. The three families have agreed to open Hinamizawa to outsiders in order to make this village thrive. I'm not supposed to tell anybody about this, but there's a project to build a new highway by the end of the 20th century. The Sonozaki family is promoting its construction without informing the villagers. If all goes well, this whole area will flourish. My grandma's building she'll make a fortune when it causes land prices in the region to skyrocket. Well, most of the work will happen in the 21st century, so it'll likely end up taking over the project. So you don't think there are people who hate the outsiders? I told you there are no such people. What makes you think we want to make this village more inconvenient than it already is? In fact, we've already started selling the land of the village to rich people who want to build a country residence here. Your house is on the first one we sold. Your house is on the first lot we sold to Kei-chan. Didn't the villagers welcome you? The three families are trying to do everything we can to stop young people from leaving the village. There was something vague about what Mion had said. Her story makes a lot more sense than Takono-san's delusional theories. And so Mion's work woke me up from that delusion. So what about this? I heard that the residents of Hinamizawa have extraordinary high levels of something in their blood, and it proves that they're infected by parasites. Really? How did Mio-san figure that out? Takono-san is a nurse. I'm sure she can do that. And you think anyone would give her blood samples for no reason? Because I sure don't. Even if she could get some blood samples somehow, how and where would she examine them? How many blood samples do you think she examined all by herself? Mion was right. I couldn't believe I thought Takono-san could do all that just because she was a nurse. It shook me hard to believe that she got that many blood samples and did a high-level examination like that without any help. When I thought about it rationally, I shouldn't have believed such a ridiculous story so easily. I've heard that people here don't get hay fever, which is proof that they're being infected by a parasite. Only people in cities get hay fever. I heard it has something to do with the fuel emissions. Kei-chan, you're talking about Hinamizawa. I mean, even people in Okonomiya don't get hay fever, I think. Well, what about this? I heard that the Sonozaki family has a death squad that they kidnapped the grandson of the government minister once. That sounds cool. I wish I had a squad like that. Even I was sounding ridiculous, but I believed all of it last night. I believe it because Reina looked very serious. It's true that the grandson of a minister was found in Takarazudo. We didn't do it. We just acted as if we did. What do you mean? Please explain. Okay. The Onogafuchi Guardians protested violently during the dam conflict. They did something close to terrorism as well, but there were people who used the resistance movement for their own benefits. They used it in the name of Onogafuchi Guardians to rob people of money and valuables. The Onogafuchi Guardians were a very aggressive force at the time. There's a high possibility that some people thought they could use the name to extort money. The kidnapping case is one of those incidents. The kidnappers thought they could stifle the police investigation by acting like they were Onogafuchi Guardians. They kidnapped the boy to demand a ransom. To tell you the truth, the members of the Onogafuchi Guardians were all very surprised. They were actually impressed that those guys actually pulled it off. I remember they said they'd even give them an award. Wait a second, so Onogafuchi Guardians have nothing to do with the kidnapping? No, not at all. Mio said it firmly. It was a simple and clear answer which left no room for suspicion, and thinking about it, nothing surprising. Kidnapping the grandson of a minister and negotiating with them in person is a huge deal. The Onogafuchi Guardians are a very aggressive group, but this operation wasn't so easy that it could be carried out by any of the normal residents of Inamizawa. It was obviously the work of professional criminals without a doubt. Like I said earlier, the Sonozaki family acted as if we were the masterminds of the kidnapping case. What do you mean by that? This is a secret privilege of the Sonozaki family. You can't tell anybody about this, okay? When an incident like this happens, we traditionally act as if we're responsible for it. It's an addition of bluffing. Bluffing? Really? Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it works out in our favor. It could be a criminal incident, the weather, or even lottery numbers. We act as if it happened because the Sonozaki family wanted it to happen. It starts to sound like we're a very powerful organization, doesn't it? That's the point. This is the secret strategy that only the Sonozaki family heads know about. This strategy is meant to make us look like bigger and stronger than we really are. Wow, so what about the plan they had during the dam conflict? They wanted to attack the Ministry of Construction. Was that true? I heard that they obtained weapons and even trained for it. That was the spin we put on it. There's no way we would actually carry out a crazy plan like that. Our real goal was to make people believe that we were capable of doing things like that so we could exact pressure on the government. That's all. They obtained weapons and went to training just so they could exact pressure. They had no intention of actually carrying out the plan. The Sonozaki family was just bluffing. That made sense. Of course it did. It's impossible to attack the Ministry of Construction. Even if they did it, it wouldn't solve the problem. All they had to do was use common sense. And if they did, they would have been crushed to seconds by a huge number of policemen. Why didn't I think of that? What about their weapons and training? As for the weapons, no comment. But we did go through training. We needed to do that in order to make the bluff look real. We gathered some younger man from my father's office and appointed Kasai's son as leader of the group. And we went to the desert in Texas, played war games with some instructors, and we went sightseeing in San Francisco afterwards. So. I couldn't think of anything else. It was obvious now. I know Reina and I both were completely fooled by the scrapbooks of Tako and Son's delusion. Reina was so serious about it, I believed her, but if you examined it closely, there were so many inconsistencies. I couldn't believe that Reina took a delusion like that so seriously. I knew the reason why, though. She was still in a state of shock after being caught with the corpses that day. She was mentally unstable, and she came across this tall tale, and she believed it. Reina's a smart girl. She wouldn't have taken it seriously if she was stable. Plus, another thing happened to wake me up from the delusion. The white van I saw yesterday came to school during a lunch break. The 4 men in work uniforms I saw were there, too. Instead of thinking of me on to follow them, the man who talked to me yesterday knocked on the door of the teacher's office. Hello, I'm from the Okanogi Gardeners. Oh, thank you for coming. It's very hot today, isn't it? I'm sure it is. By the way, you look very beautiful today, as always. Thank you. Well, you can start wherever you're ready. Yes, we'll start right away. My account manager told me to give this to you. The quote and the invoice I see. The date is left blank on the bottom of both of them. Well, there shouldn't be any problem. Thank you so much. Alright, we'll start right away. The man was talking to Ch.6 with a big smile. What are you doing here, my Barracuda? Oh, principal. Well, who is that guy? The principal pointed his finger out at the window. When I looked out, I heard noises of an engine starting. The noise was coming from the engine of a motorized lawnmower. I saw a young man in work uniforms taking another lawnmower and some brooms and a ladder out of the van. They're gardeners. We haven't taken care of the grass around the fence and around the trees for a long time. I wanted to clean them up before summer. Mr. Principal, thank you for giving us a call. The man noticed the principal, took off his hat and bowed. No need. I trust your work. Please take care of things. I think we can finish it today. We might make a lot of noise, though. Each worker took one of the tools and walked toward the fence where the grass was growing. The engine of the lawnmower was very loud, and the kids who were playing in the schoolyard looked at it curiously. Hey, it's dangerous out here. Go back to your classroom. It was Ch.6. She had an envelope with documents in it to the principal. She said Okanogi Gardeners in green on the envelope. Principal, please sign an invoice and drop it off at their office next time you go to the town hall. Of course, will do. Ch.6, did they come here yesterday? Yes, they came here to look at the grass late in the afternoon. They told me they got lost on the way back because they tried to take a shortcut. This village has a lot of small roads branching off everywhere, and it can be very confusing. I remember when I first came here, Ch.6, they started laughing about when she got lost, and they laughed together. There was never anything suspicious to begin with. I thought they were suspicious yesterday because of what Rena told me. At first I thought it was unusual to see a white van, but then right after I heard their creepy story, I saw a white van parked on the road and I got scared. The gardeners weren't familiar with the roads of Hinamisawa and they got lost trying to take a shortcut on the way back. That's all. I had totally twisted it around. I believed that the fake Sunny story. I believed that the Sonozaki family was working in the scenes, and I fabricated the existence of a group of fanatical believers in my mind. Well, worse, I doubted Mion. Damn it, I'm such a fool. She's my friend. We took each other's hands that day, saying that we were a family, made of friends, and that friends were friends no matter what. I said that, and then I doubted my friend. I'm so stupid. Anyway, Rena was the problem. She also needed to wake up from this crazy delusion. I had to hurry and wake her up. Rena seemed like she had no mind to listen to anyone else. She truly believes that Sonozaki family are the masterminds of a large-scale conspiracy. I remember the plate number of the white van, and I also remember their faces. Without a doubt, this is one of the vans that have been following me. So far, I confirmed that 3 or 4 cars have been following me. Alright guys, hold on. Apparently my laptop is not plugged in. Hey, sorry about that guys. My computer charger apparently wasn't plugged into the wall. Anyways, okay. I could especially recall this white van because it followed me around for the longest of all. People who were near the car were supposed to be the lookouts, and the ones in this van must be tasked with direct contact like kidnapping or assassination. The lookouts secured the surroundings, and the ones in this van attacked the target. That's a common maneuver involved in both kidnapping and assassination. The scrapbook said that too. So I better watch out because it was them, not the lookouts, who came to the school premises. I don't think they'll attack me while I'm in school. They are in the early stage of their covert operation now, hiding their fangs and claws until the last stage of their horrifying scheme. That's why they wouldn't take the action in the school while people were watching. But it looked like they were talking with Ch.6 in a very friendly way. I could only hear bits and pieces of their conversation, but it sounded very suspicious. I tried to remember the chatter and the movements of their mouths, and I played the memory of it like a videotape in my mind. Hello. Oh, thank you for coming. It's very hot today, isn't it? It sure is. You and blah today. XXX you, XXX today, XXX blah. Thank you. Well, you can start whenever you're ready. Well, I'll start right away. My account manager told me to give this to you. The XXX is XXX. XXX is blank left on XXX. Well, there shouldn't be any problem. Thank you so much. Alright, well, XXX. I used the information I had to guess what's going on. I played the video again and again in my mind, and also paused it and played it in slow motion again to check many times. Then something unbelievably horrifying started to emerge. There's no doubt that they're acquainted with Ch.6, but I've never seen them visit the school before, so it's hard to believe that Ch.6 is their contact. There's no doubt that there's the squad under the direct control of the Sonozaki family. And they had the local accent, which proves that they're chosen from the Sonozaki Corps. That squad was talking with Ch.6. They know each other. What's their relationship? Who's Ch.6 anyway? During the damn conflict, Hinamisawa school was closed and was merged with the one in Okonomiya. The Onagafuchi Guardians didn't accept that, and they made part of their forestry service building into a school. But needless to say, the school they made didn't have a teacher, so it was only going to be a token form of resistance. But a teacher who had a strong passion for education felt sorry for the children, and she came to work there. That was Rumiko Ch.6. It was obviously strange. Teachers are government employees, and they normally belong to their prefectures. As long as they lie low and don't cause trouble, they don't get fired and they don't get demoted. They can work up until the official retirement age, and they're guaranteed to get a fixed retirement fund. She was one of those government employees, but she defied the Board of Education and came to work for Hinamizawa. The villagers admire her as a teacher of passion. I heard that Oryu Sonozaki herself has successfully negotiated with the Board of Education and has suspended Ch.6 for their defying their orders. It was easy to get an answer from this by connecting the dots. Ch.6 was recruited by Oryu Sonozaki as a teacher to work at the school the Onagafuchi Guardians had created. In other words, she was already working for Oryu before she came here. As for the principal, he was the principal of the school in Hinamizawa from the beginning. He was a respected person of this region, and he's been closely associated with the three families for a long time. So that means the school has been under the control of the Sonozaki family all along. That's why Ch.6 is acquainted with the death squad. It makes sense now. Ch.6 confirmed that I came to school today and made a phone call and called them here. I don't want to know why she called them here. If she called them just to monitor me, they'd wait near the gate until class was over. But I came around to the school premises. Why? Stop pretending to be a fool, Rainer Ryugu. Do you think nothing will happen if you pretend not to notice it? Think hard and calm down, Rainer Ryugu. What will they try to do to me today in school? In school, how are they going to do anything with my classmates and my friends around me? It's easy. Ch.6 will tell me to come to the teacher's office during the last class of the day. What about my club mates? That's easy too. Ch.6 can easily make them go home early, using her authority as a teacher. She can make up any reason she wants. Maybe the classroom is going to have his carpentry work done today so they can't stay in school. Sure is. XXX, XXX today, XXX. Thank you. Well, you can start whenever you're ready. See, there's no doubt. They're clearly said they're ready to do it today. And what else? Yes, we'll start right away. My account manager told me to give this to you. The XXX and XXX I see. XXX is left blank on XXX. Well, there shouldn't be any problem. Thank you so much. I see. They gave Ch.6 an envelope with some documents in it. That blank is an airy phrase. With my name supposed to be in the blank. Why is this left blank? What does that mean? I told you right now, Ryugu. Do you still think nothing will happen if you pretend not to notice it? Stop that. So what it must mean is that in order from higher up, it says make Rina Ryugu become blank. I took a peek from the shadows and I saw a principal taking documents out from the envelope. He started reading them. He looked stern. He looked very serious. I wish I could take a peek at the documents, but I wish I was too far away. I kept looking at him to see if he'd react at all, and then the envelope caught my eye. The envelope said Okanogi Gardeners, and it had numbers on it that looked like a phone number. Fortunately, I have very good eyesight. I memorized the number. If they're a death squad, the gardening company must be a camouflage occupation. It probably doesn't even exist. I wanted to find out. I looked for a phone. There's only one phone, and it's in the teacher's office. Fortunately, the teachers were chatting in the hallway looking at their gardeners. It was now or never. I made sure nobody was watching me go into the teacher's office. I rushed in and grabbed the phone on the principal's desk. I went over to the phone number in my head and dialed it up. I'm glad they have a touch-tone phone. It would have been difficult if it's a rotary dial. If someone answered, I'd only have to ask, is this the Okanogi Gardeners? I wait for an answer before hanging up. It should be easy. It connected. The number you dialed is... I felt a cold chill run through the body from the bottom of my feet. Wait till I make a quick judgment. Yeah, I might remember the number wrong. No, I remembered it right. It was an easy number to remember. It's impossible to remember it wrong. Then I dialed it wrong. I put the phone down and started over. This time I dialed the number more slowly. The teachers might be coming back any time in the situation and was risky doing things slowly, but I needed to make absolutely sure. The number you dialed is the same. There's no doubt. The company Okanogi Gardeners doesn't exist. It's just a camouflage occupation for the Sonozaki family's death squad. Please make sure the number you dialed is correct. The number you dialed is... I was too stunned to put down the receiver. The announcement kept running over and over again. The voice was cold and creepy. I hung up the phone and rushed out of the teacher's office. I ran to the bathroom and held my head in an attempt to cool down. Calm down, Reina. Calm down, Reina Ryugu. Stay cool, Reina Ryugu. I wasn't safe here anymore. If I stayed here, I might be erased even in the open. They erased me. Why? They aren't certain that I had the scrapbooks. I told Kichi-kun where I hid the scrapbooks. Yesterday I told him I hid them in my hideout in the garbage dump. Is Kichi-kun in cahoots with the Sonozaki family? I felt as if my head was the pot that was cooking some dubious stew. It was only soup in my brain. I cut up clues, information, and facts just like I cut vegetables and threw them into the pot. Some of them were floating on the surface and others were on the bottom of the pot. They were being cooked in a boiling soup. No, it can't be. Kichi-kun is on my side. He's the only one who's on my side. He held out his hand to me at the trash pile. There was no lie in that hand. When he grabbed my wrist, I felt nothing but a strong and pure heart. He promised me he'd be on my side. I shouldn't doubt Kichi-kun. He's the only one I should trust. He's the only one who's on my side right now. I'm sorry, Kichi-kun. I was about to doubt you. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. I said it out loud on purpose, full of regret that I doubted Kichi-kun, the only one who's on my side. Now I think about it, whether I have them scrapbooks or not matter to them. Erase anyone who is suspicious. That's the safest way. Does that mean they're in a hurry? The day of Oyo Show-sama's revival might just be around the corner, and that's why they're trying to get rid of any small fish bones that are struck in the throat by any means before it's too late. We don't need her anymore. Just erase her for your words so much. I could easily picture Oyu Sonozaki saying that. Picture it? No, she did say that. That's why they're here today. What should I do? Should I wait until school is over? I was like a fish in a pond. No matter how many times I escaped from the net, I was in a pond and they owned the pond. I didn't stand a chance. And what should I do now? I couldn't keep escaping from the net. I should get out of the pond. I didn't know how to fight them. I didn't know who's on my side. I was about to give in to despair. For now, I have to think about how to survive this, so at least I have time to think about how to fight them against them. I have to get out of this pond. When I was about to leave the bathroom, one of my classmates came in. I pretended to be sick and talked to the girl while leaning on the wall. I don't feel good. I think I better go home. Can you tell Ch.6 I left school early? I shouldn't let Ch.6 know that I'm leaving school early if I'm trying to run away from them. But if I didn't, they might think I ran away without cause. That might lead them to chase after me without mercy. If that happens, I don't stand a chance. They're planning to capture me after school is over, but I happened to feel sick and left school early. If they took it that way, they won't think that I noticed a noose tightening around me. I was about to go back to the classroom to get my bag, but I changed my mind and turned around. I didn't need my bag anymore. I realized nobody was watching me, so I stopped pretending to be sick and started running. Ch.6 said, take a look at this. Take a look. Is something wrong with the documents? Yes, the date on the quote and the invoice are left blank. They're supposed to put today's date here. Oh, they want to leave them blank. They said they couldn't put the same date on the quote and the invoice. They're told to leave them blank by general affairs. Okay then, this phone number on the invoice is different from the one on the envelope. Do you know which is the correct one? Oh, I didn't notice that. Hello, excuse me. Yes, what's the matter? The phone number on the invoice is different from the one on the envelope. Which one is correct? Oh, ha ha ha. It's the one on the invoice. I used the only envelope we used to use at our former office. I'm sorry about that. I told our part-timer to add a stamp with a new number, but I guess she forgot. I apologize for the confusion. Can you just erase the number? Oh. Okay. Wow. Had I been going there for a second, that I was really right, but I guess not. Okay, we got a new tip. Lunch takeout list 3. Let's go ahead and give that a quick look. The danger of a culture-bound syndrome lies in the fact that it can easily trigger delusional misidentification syndrome. That is to say, in the current case, every time a patient sees something trivial, she tries to interpret it as a curse. It is believed that as a result of the accumulation of these events in an understandable form, a delusional system is created, ultimately leading to paranoia. Furthermore, the patient is also exhibiting slight signs of a personality disorder. Of course, it's at least very mid-level, and it's not causing any hindrance whatsoever to the patient's daily life. It's common for unhealthy individuals to have primary delusions in their daily lives, but they usually ignore it automatically without recognition, since those delusions are nonsensical. However, there are cases where delusions accumulate despite being incomprehensible. whatever. It largely depends on the particular characteristics of the individual, and it's believed that the patient shows relatively strong characteristics in this area. I believe you're very much aware that the primary delusions are categorized into three different kinds. Delusional mood is the feeling of impending crisis without basis. Delusional intuition is the feeling of a sense of duty or goal without basis. Delusional perception is the feeling of a baseless cause against a baseless target. In the patient's case, it is believed that these incomprehensible delusions accumulated acted out simultaneously with the culture rebound syndrome without triggered a delusional misidentification syndrome, and is ultimately caused by the incomprehensible delusions that become understandable by interpreting them as a curse. The comprehensible delusional system introduces understandable secondary delusions, further strengthening the patient's delusional system with the passage of time. The delusional parasitosis mentioned earlier can be considered a secondary delusion. A common factor of all the cases of paranoia is that even after an outbreak, they still appear perfectly normal with no change in their personalities. The patients are unaware of their own alignments, and due to their personal interpretations of their delusional system, there are many cases where patients arm themselves logically, making it extremely difficult for a third party to point out that they're having a delusion. Furthermore, although it may depend on the tendency of delusions, where there are also cases where a persecutory delusion turns into a pursuit delusion or a conspiracy delusion, resulting in the patient creating an imaginary enemy and taking up antisocial behavior. For example, there are cases where believers of a religious cult were deeply influenced by the cult founders' paranoid visions, which shifted the group into a conspiracy delusion, and that made them conduct antisocial behavior in the name of self-defense. Although no such cases have been reported in Japan yet, it could very well happen in the near future. Fortunately, the patient hasn't reached that serious condition as of now. With proper treatment, she should be able to make a full recovery. Please make sure that her father understands that this is not an unusual case, but something caused by the accumulation of a number of innocent factors that anyone could have. The patient could be treated by only deepening her bond with her father. As long as she has that bond, she could certainly be treated. For the reasons above, if the patient is to return to her home village, I strongly recommend that the patient continue to receive guidance from the specialized medical institutions. Please excuse me for writing such a long letter. Thank you for reading this until the very end. You're welcome. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Go ahead and get in and quit now. Go get a drink for my sore throat from reading for so long. And I'll see you guys next time.